as of right now, I'd say Rip has the most interesting position in the story. Like, we know obviously that Andy's the main character. We've got Izumo having a power that is like a potential way for them they're going to be able to defeat God and whatnot. But Rip, I really like that he's a good guy on the side of like this very questionable side of things. 'Cause there's this really weird because it's like if the world is infinitely going to loop, and obviously like most people probably don't think they could beat God and whatnot, but like their whole setup is that they should be able to kind of like be in charge and do whatever they want. I kind of agree with like the setup that they've been kind of like set in, that they're the ones constantly getting screwed over and having to be involved in a lot of these things against their will, and just the unfortunate lives that God in this series has put upon them with like their powers and stuff, and the misfortunes that have been brought about by just how they're connected, and also how his backstory has been played into, and that he honestly has way more of a character driven reason of why he's doing things. That it's like he doesn't really mind having to do all these bad things because he's gonna reset everything at some point anyway and get this character back that he says meant everything to him. And so how this is gonna play out, I'm very very intrigued on his character in general. It's like with Undead Unluck, I've liked the story, but there hasn't been any characters that I've been overall really like really invested in. Like Billy is to a degree because I'm very like Billy's a big mystery. Like I've been very curious as like what his whole reasoning for everything is going to be. But I'd say as of right now, Rip is way more so, in my opinion, the character that has my interest at the utmost right now in the story. Like I really like the cast of characters in Undead Unlock. I've really been enjoying that. I think as like one of the major aspects of the story. Like there's not really anybody that I dislike, and I've really liked a lot of the characters. But right now, Rip is probably I would say the potential for my favorite right now. I don't know if I have anyone otherwise like a big favorite for Undead Unluck, because usually like for characters it takes a while for me to either find a specific one I like. I know like Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, like it took all the way until I would say the whole chapter when we saw like Megumi's like crazy, like essentially figuring out a cheat way to have like a super powerful move, and it's like a suicide move. I don't want to go too much into it in case people haven't read it, but it took a while for me to kind of like officially pick a favorite character for that. And there's like another series that's going on right now, Phantom Seer. Kenma is like on the track for my favorite character in that one so far. I like him the most, but he hasn't hit like favorite character status right now in that series. But Rip in Undead Unluck is kind of the contender right now for that. I like his character. I like his general design. I do think that his hair up looks way cooler. Like anytime that like his hair is blown up, he just looks a lot more badass when he's got almost like that Super Saiyan kind of like hairstyle, but with his general design. He looks cool, and he just has like a really cool power on top of that. And like I said, his backstory is very intriguing, and then it's like his outlook on how he sees things. Because even in this chapter, he was a really nice guy when talking to talking to Izumo and Andy and all them, and saying like he owed them, so he's just gonna give them the Autumn Uma core as well as the relic that Ana Una had, which clearly will mean a lot to them, just having that remnant of them. And I really like the way that Ana Una has been kind of as he's essentially been killed off, but not entirely, but he sort of is because he can't really participate in the story anymore. Like there would have to be a very specific kind of way that he's brought back in, because we know that people can't see him, they don't know about him, as well as his whole setup of he doesn't have his pen anymore, so he can't really draw anything. He can't really do anything outside of kind of like keep to himself. I'm still very curious if like he could get on the computer and like maybe type something out, because clearly he can interact with things. He can draw manga and stuff, but like could he is there a way that he could just kind of like contact people, like talk them through the internet, or is there something that like would make people forget him, or he couldn't just like exist through that? I don't really know. Like it's something that I really want to see explored, because there's got to be a way that they could figure out a device or some form of tech or some form of general way that could give him either a way to kind of neutralize his powers where he can do stuff, or if he could find a different way to have like an avatar to where he could communicate with the characters, even if it's not like the same way. Like, say instead of it being like a instead of it being just like a straight body, like what if it's just like a video game avatar? Like, imagine that if he could instead, like, he started playing a video game where he would you'd be able to talk to him through that, like meet his character somewhere. Or if he has like a like an action figure, essentially, he could pretty much talk to, or just something, question mark avatar that he communicates through, like whatever it could be. Like, there's a bunch of possibilities, but the general idea of him returning some way somehow, and maybe you can just have that he doesn't remember, like maybe when the pen broke he lost the knowledge of the past and future to kind of balance him out. But maybe his character like he would still have like a general idea of like how to strategize some of the characters. Like, maybe that could be his thing if he knows, like if he still has like that mangaka mindset where he like can think of like cool fights and cool like team combinational things. Then maybe he would be like the best strategist to have on the team, to where he could kind of like think the best ways to counteract somebody's powers and stuff, because he would think at it from like the standpoint of like a mangaka setting up fights and battles and whatnot. Other than that, though, I really like the Rabbit Kid. I don't think they've said his name even once, but I like his general just presence in the series. He's made me laugh, and I've just like seeing him in the manga. Like in the last chapter, like he was just jumping off the broom, and then Lotla caught him in like the first panel of this chapter, and then you see him kind of just looking over at the decaying Uma, and then just him sitting on the broom. He's like drawing, he's like writing the names of like the stuff that's in the weird, I don't even know what to call like the weird spheres that he's made, like the material. I don't know if it's gum or cotton or plastic or what, but he's like manipulating his ear in his suit to like write autumn and then gun on each of them to kind of differentiate them. I do like this like goofy little kid's character, and even there's a part where he's apologizing to Izumo about stealing her gun and hitting her. So I really like that. Right now, I've expressed that his character so far has been entertaining as like this very very funny little cute character that's just going around doing whatever. I'm very happy that character didn't get hurt at all. This little rabbit kid didn't get killed and made it out of this whole battle. But after that, when we see, like Izumo, Andy, parting ways with Rip's crew, it was just a really nice moment when he's like asking about who Ano-un was, and he's like, oh, it's just I'm guessing a negator, the unknown, and he mentions he's a self-targeting compulsory type, because I'm guessing that with Rip, his power is what led to the death of Lotla's sister. Like, maybe he actually injured her, and because you can't repair wounds that he's created, that that it's a big, oh, well, that is what caused him to end up leading to her death, and maybe like why he takes this all so seriously and why he wants to get her back to a timeline where she's alive. And it would make sense of why he would relate to Ano-un in this. It's like he has like a sad life that's very tragic because of his powers, in a similar way that what happened to Rip. So again, there's like lots of clues and stuff set up about Rip's character that I've been really liking. But after that, like, we have Izumo. She just kind of collapses. Like, she's just, her body just can't keep up with it. Like the level of exhaustion she's in, and probably just the action, the fight that she, everyone was just participated in, as well as she just came back from that book world. And I actually didn't notice the time gap that was in there, because I don't think I really, I know that she was in there for, a period of time that felt like, it wasn't just time skip to her. Like, to her, she experienced it, but she says it was about 10 years. I didn't notice that she was in there that long. Like, for real. That's actually really crazy. Because that means that, to her, like, maturity-wise, like, she's got 10 years extra experience just in this crazy point in time that is, clad onto who she already was. So she should be, like, I would imagine, like, a good chunk more mature, probably, like, has a good chunk more of experience with her powers and stuff as well that she could implement. So I really want to see how she's going to kind of go forward beyond this, because even if she's, like, slightly more experienced, she doesn't have to be, like, a crazy master of, like, fighting with her unlock abilities, like, right off the bat. But just, like, seeing in general, like, any progress she's got from coming out of there is going to be really cool, like, afterwards. Then we get, like, the other members of the union. We see Juiz and, like, Top and Phil and stuff. And I can't remember what Shen's assistant's name is off the top of my head, but you just see them doing things like fighting some of the lower Umas, and they're mentioning like that it was because there was an Uma, the Uma information that was put into that artifact, and instead it was like a one time thing that would ever happen in like the whole setup with like the Apocalypse Revelations book and the Umas, and that when Akira found it, God must have like cheated in order to kind of like keep that crazy character in check with that kind of information by giving him the unknown power. So it must mean that that it's not just you get them, but also like God influences and kind of gives people certain powers at certain points. So it adds like an extra level of question of like how the powers in Undead Unluck work and how you get them like in total, like how is the whole system in place around that. And I'm hoping we get that. It doesn't have to be like next chapter immediately, but I'm hoping we eventually just get like a really good information dump on just like how these abilities all work. And after that, like Juiz is looking nice. She's got like her just a nice big trench coat, and she's got her sword, like just wandering around doing her thing, looking pretty neat. But then she like gets dropped right in front of Billy, and Billy's like with another dude. I don't recognize the other dude, but he's got the that like Inferno Uma under him, like using it just to kind of keep the area they're in heated. I'm guessing this is where the Winter Uma is, and like that, because that was the really big one that just looked like this giant, like, I don't know if it was like a diamond or something kind of creature, like shrouded in water, and it was like the size of a mountain. It was huge. So that's probably where like the bigger fight's gonna happen with Juiz coming here, because I don't really know how her fight's gonna go with Billy, but I'm very curious to know if it's gonna be a fight or if it's gonna be just a confrontation. Either way, though, I really want to see what is going to happen between them, because I mentioned Billy has a lot of my interest. I think Billy's like he's like a very mysterious character. He's got a little bit of an Eisen presence, which I think is really cool in general. But also Juiz, like Juiz in general, like she's really cool. She's like very interesting. I like her power. I liked how she has like a thing with always keeping her face covered. I don't know why that's a thing right now. Like we've gotten that with like Satoru Gojo, we've gotten that with Yayoi over in Phantom Seer, and then with Juiz, like I'm curious to know if that's just a thing she does or if it has to do specifically with her abilities, because she took her mask off and then used Injustice against those aliens. So I'm guessing it has to do with like what she sees and who she's looking at or something, or like maybe her mask and like covering up her eyes is just kind of like a limiter. Like she's just kind of like maybe lowering her senses by like messing with her ability to see, and that does something with her power. I don't know. It could literally just be like a style thing that she's doing. Either way, like I think she's really cool so far, and I can't wait to see what she's capable of in this next chapter. Because like Andy, Izumo, and everything going on over there is really cool. But we've seen a lot of them, like they're the main cast and stuff. But Juiz is someone who we've had clearly not just as a character been around for a long time and obviously like the leader of the group, but she has like way more of a tie into the story, and we even see her like live in past lives where it seemed like at one point she was a guy, and then she's been in this like as long as Victor. So I'm very curious as to how she's lived throughout all these different versions of them going through the battle against God and using the Ark and stuff. Very, very hyped to see the next chapter. Like, I want to see her go off. Like, we don't need a full chapter just on her, but I want to see just, like, what she's capable of. I really want to see, like, how strong she is. And I'm guessing her sword is also, like, an artifact and stuff, so probably has, like, crazy powers on top of it. Because it won't surprise me if, like, on top of, like, her Injustice power, she has, like, a bunch of really crazy artifacts just at her disposal. Because she also, on top of being very strong, is very knowledgeable. Like, if she's lived through all these lives, she's probably got, like, knows which artifacts are all the best ones and which ones work best with their powers. So anyway, other than that though, comment below, tell me your thoughts about this chapter. It was really intriguing the way to end this way, because I didn't think we were going to get this confrontation at all. I figured this would be something like, if we were going to get something like this, it'd be like near the end. Like I thought, like seeing back to them and what I think it's the Summer Uma. Like, cause it was Spring was the really big like Japanese Oni looking guy, kind of like that samurai. Winter was the really big one. Or it might have been Summer that was the very Japanese looking one. But then the one that they were up against, like when we saw like Phil or was it Top? I think Top is the really fast guy, right? Phil is the kid. He's the really small one, like the robotic arms, I believe.
I might be getting those two mixed up, but I'm guessing that you see like all of the kind of food scenes and stuff that looked where the one that was like it looked like an eyeball stalk coming out of a chestnut. I'm guessing that they're going to be the ones fighting that, and that's the one that I really have a lot of interest in because it has a creepy design, a really creepy design, probably my favorite out of the four. But I don't know if it's going to be as focused as like what's going on right now with generally just what's going on with the bigger picture, like I said, with Billy and Juiz. So we'll see. Next chapter. Very hyped for that. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.